Hello, guys. Welcome to this week's episode. I am Elena Masi, well known as Masi Expert in all social media platforms TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, and also have a WhatsApp channel that is a notebook of a CEO. So today I have, along with my friend Shylah, and I would like her to introduce herself. She'll be taking us through the topic of self.
Thank you so much. Let me first begin by thanking you. Thank you, thank you for having me today. I'm really excited to be part of this conversation. My name is Purity Shylah, a professional teacher. Yes, I teach chemistry and biology. I'm born again, and I'm a public speaker, and I host a podcast called Living Hall Podcast. It is in Spotify, and I'm really grateful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. So we'll have a brief session to enlighten us about self. And I would like to ask Purity the first question. He will take us through. And to our first question, what do you understand by the term self?
That is very interesting. Self. That we really want to understand who are we, what we were meant to be, and if we are living to execute what exactly we were called to do. So I'll say self is the core of a person, the identity of a person, who exactly a person is. And I'll say self is not defined by your name, it's not defined by your career, achievements, your background, your upbringing, or the circumstances that you're going through right now. Rather, I would want to say that self, it's about your inner identity, your core values, your beliefs, your emotions, your attitudes, and your feelings. And I'll be tempted to explain self in three ways. I'll say self employs who exactly you are. And this entails your self awareness, self concept, and also self worth. When you talk about self awareness, we are talking about your feelings, your emotions, your strengths, and your weaknesses. And if we talk about self concept, here we really get to understand our beliefs, our identity, and our attitudes. How about self worth? Here you're talking about how do you value yourself? Yes, there are people who don't really value who they are, and that is bad because we are always seeking public validation. That is not good. Yeah, so I would want to explain self. Maybe somebody is in a journey of discovering who they really are, and I would say you cannot define yourself outside God. Yes, we have a manufacturer who has manufactured something. It is only the manufacturer who gives the commodity or that particular thing the identity. You're getting me right?
I get.
Yeah, so it's not possible for us to be able to understand what a certain commodity is unless the manufacturer tells us what exactly it is. Yes, I was able to know that this is a phone because the manufacturer told me there's a phone, right? Yes, so most of us would want to understand who we really are, but we are not getting this identity from our manufacturer. You know, yes, and I'll see if a manufacturer uh, gives identity to a commodity, they don't just give it an identity. They go ahead and give it a manual, how it operates. You're getting me? Yeah. So we are the creation. We are the creation of God. God is our creator. So He is our manufacturer, right? And He has given us our identity. Most of us are tempted to look for our identity to understand who we really are from what people say about us. Yes, we've been given different identities. Yes, maybe Mercy, you are a firstborn. Yes, your family is calling you firstborn. This is how they expect you as a firstborn to really behave, right? Yes, they've called you a lastborn. You're there, you've been pampered, but you haven't really understand who we are. So for us to be able to understand ourselves, we have to go back to our creator. And by there we are able to get who exactly we are. He gives us our identity and he also gives us a manual. That is the word of God. So for you to be able to get your identity, I'll say go back to your creator. Yes, if a commodity does not understand what it really is, it has to get back to the manufacturer, right? Yeah, so it will be so hard for us to understand ourselves if we are seeking for our identity outside God. Yes. Thank you.
Wow, wow, that's nice. We have had all that self, there is self awareness, and I would say that about self is it should be built on the foundation of awareness and not disbelief. You have said something very important that some people have been defined self by who they are called to be. But aside what people call you, what's your identity? What's your identity? Go sit down and reflect on that. Beside what I'm called to, beside what I'm doing, what's my identity? Thank you so much, PDT. I'm really learning.
So am I.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, thank you. So on our next question, what is the biggest misconception that people have about ourselves?
Interesting. People have a lot of misconceptions, I'll say. But one of the greatest misconceptions is comparison. Yeah, I'm looking at my friend and I'm seeing they're gifted, they're talented differently. And I'm like, oh God, you never did it very well to me. I think I should be gifted the way my sister Mercy is gifted. So the greatest misconception people have about themselves is comparison. And I'll say comparison is very dangerous. It kills, it destroys, it demotivates. Yes, you could be taking a particular path, but when you see somebody else is doing something differently, you are tempted to compare yourself with. And that is bad because it demotivates consistency, it kills energy. Yes, you wouldn't become who really God designed you to be because you're comparing yourself to somebody else. And I would really want to tell us that we shouldn't be comparing ourselves. We are unique. Yes, God created us uniquely. He really wanted us to become something great. You know,
Yeah.
you get it. So when you start comparing ourselves to some people, it becomes very hard for us to understand who we really are and then grow to execute that which the Lord called us to do. Yes. Let me give this example. If a fish was living, let's say outside water, and we want to measure the capacity of fish to walk. You see, this fish will live its life knowing that it's incapable of walking. But it was never created to walk, you know? It was created to swim, right? So you would be there comparing yourself to people, not executing, not understanding your abilities and your capacities, just because you're comparing yourself to people, you know? Yes, and I'm tempted to give this example. If we had a cat and a fish having a battle, so if this battle was happening in a terrestrial land, definitely the cat will win.
Yeah.
Because it is working on its environment. If this battle was taken in water, definitely the fish will win because this is its environment. Yeah, so some of us would want to execute what we really are, but we are not in our environment. And I will say our environment is the presence of God. Yes, we want to do everything, but outside God. You want to succeed. You want to get that good career. You want to be a good preacher, minister. It is well, but are you in the presence of God? So stop comparing yourself to people. It kills. Another misconception is people's validation. You know, yes, I would use this example. If I was to look at myself at a mirror, I expect that the mirror will give an image of what exactly is standing before it. But some of us are using wrong mirrors to portray who we really are. You're getting? Yes, if you were to use a distorted mirror, you'll definitely get a distorted image. And this is exactly what most of us are doing. We are using our mirrors as social media, comparing ourselves to others. You get people's opinion and also societal expectations. This is what the society expects from us. And you're like, if this is what my society expects from me, then this is what I want to do. So I'll see, stop looking at people validation. Yes, you should be motivating yourself. So I'll see the greatest misconceptions are comparing yourself to people and also public validations. Yeah.
Wow, wow. I hope you're learning, guys. Really learning. I love what Purity have just said about the environment. Yeah, in my WhatsApp channel, I had shared something about environments, and your environment really matters even in your growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, even in the people you associate with,
So
it really matters.
yeah.
And also the point of us embracing our uniqueness.
So
We should not compare ourselves to others. So I'm really running. I hope you'll put this into practice because this is a very powerful thing.
yeah.
It's a very powerful episode. So on our next question, how can we better understand our identity?
Hmm. Interesting to understand our identity. You'll get to understand that identity, it is not invented. It's something you discover.
Yeah.
Yes. There's what God has already said we are. So we don't start now thinking of what I should be. You discover what you've been called to do. So for us to be able to understand our identities, I'll think number one, go back to your creator. A commodity should go back to the manufacturer to really understand what it is, its uses, its purposes, and its effectiveness. So for us to be able to understand who we really are, we need to get back to our creator. And I love what Romans chapter number 1, verse 18, that about to 27, it speaks about that through nature, God has put it evidently. Instinctively, we are able to understand who we are. We get to understand that there is God. There are people who come up with theories and tend to say that there is no God. But through nature, we can able to see that there is God. Right? And he goes ahead and he says that the reason why people are doing certain things is because of their evil thoughts. Is we get to understand that the devil is the father of all lies. So he works with our thoughts and tries to corrupt us to think like there is no God. But the Bible tells us that he has put it evidently in nature. So he says if people try to push away the truth, God gives them a way to their evil thoughts.
Yeah.
So you'll tend to think like there is no God, but it's your thoughts. And it just gives you a way to your thoughts. So I would say for you to be able to understand your identity, you cannot understand your identity outside God.
Yeah.
Go back to your maker. He defines you. He tells you who you really are. Genesis says that we have been created in the image and likeness of God.
Yeah.
Psalm says we are fearfully and wonderfully made. You know, so this is what the maker says about you. You have been forgiven. You have been redeemed. Yeah, you are loved. You are a conqueror. Such things. But now, most of us want to get our identity outside that. This is how the world defines you. You know, it gives you certain, for you maybe to prosper, to be great. These are the things you have to get. But I would recommend for us to go back to God. Number two, I would say, let's practice self reflection. It's a good thing. Galatians 6:4 says that everybody should analyze themselves without comparison. I love the fact that it mentions that we should not compare ourselves. So you analyze yourself. Also, Lamentations 3:40 says that we should test ourselves. Yes. So when you take time to reflect who you really are, you get to understand your strengths. You get to understand what is your purpose. You get to understand your weaknesses and how to work on them. Yes. So it won't be possible for you to understand yourself if you're looking at somebody else. Yes, my friend is doing very well in business, they're doing very well somewhere else. And maybe I've not been called in that platform because we began by saying we have been created uniquely. Yeah, so there's something different about you that you really need to see inside you. And I would love to pose this question. At some point in life, have you seen like everybody else has figured their life out at once, but you seems like you're not going anywhere. You haven't even started. You know, and sometimes you ask yourself, am I really in a position? Do I have the potential and the capacity to achieve my dreams? So if we wait for people to really look at us so that we may begin, we will never begin. So you're the first person to believe in yourself. And you only believe in yourself if you have reflected in yourself. So step number two, I'll say self-reflection. Understand your weaknesses and use your strength to overcome your weaknesses. Don't let your weaknesses speak so much to you that you fail to focus on your strength. Yes, understand your purpose and accomplish it. And I'll also say listen to positive compliments. Yes, God uses men to nurture men. Yes, I could see that Mercy has the capacity to do something, but you haven't come to the realization. So that God can use me to make you understand things. And I'll say, don't listen to evil things because the devil is out in here roaming. Yes, and he will really want to destroy what you say, what you do, what you believe in yourself. So you can build yourself in a community that really, we have faithful friends, genuine friends that really trust us and they can spot a capability in us and they can let us know. Yes. So I would say renew your mind, transform yourself. Yeah.
Wow, wow. I just love the aspect that you have brought about the first step of knowing our identity is going back to our manufacturer. Because I believe we are created in the image and the likeness of God.
Exactly.
And in the word of God from Jeremiah, he says that I knew you even before you were formed in your mother's womb. So there is a full script that God always have for us.
Yeah.
So for us to discover our identity, we need also to go back to him.
Sure.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really amazing. And you have just touched part of our next question about self-reflection. Yeah.
Amazing.
And we'd like to know the role of self-reflection in our personal growth. How can self-reflection? How does it contribute in our growth?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Self-reflection is a major key to understanding your identity. And it entails, just as I have mentioned, you understanding your weaknesses, your strength, your purpose. Yes, nothing works out at once. You don't need to have everything figured out at once for you to begin. Reflection is key. It helps you to understand who you really are. Who exactly am I? What can I do? Do I have the potential, the capabilities? And what is stopping me from doing this? Is it the external validations, the external voices? Or is it just myself that I'm not working it out? Yes, and sometimes I've asked myself, is it that I don't have the potential and the capacity to do what exactly the Lord has called me to do? Or is it just because I have not worked on myself?
Yeah.
The people who haven't worked on themselves, and when you ask them, what are your goals? What are your plans? They have nothing to say. Not because they're not gifted, they are gifted. You can actually see the gift in them. But what is stopping them is because they have not really understood themselves. They have never taken time to study who exactly they are. And that is so bad. So self reflection helps you to understand who you are. And it also helps you to gauge where exactly you're going and where you're coming from. If I were to ask you, Mercy,
Yeah.
are you the same as, are you in that place that you were 5 years ago?
No, no.
You're not.
Yeah.
And if you try to figure it out, do you see yourself the same in 5 years to come?
No.
Not really,
Yeah.
right? So self reflection helps you to understand your potential, your journey. Who have you become? And where exactly are you heading to? Who exactly do you want to become? Yes, if you were to have a seed today of a mango, it seems like just a small thing,
Yeah.
but it knew what exactly it carried. It carried a very big tree. So you have the capacity to grow, and you can only grow if you are measuring exactly where you are coming from and where you are heading to.
Yeah.
So self reflection helps you to be able to gauge your journey. Am I really growing? Am I developing? Or am I stagnant? Yeah, I'll say that.
Wow, wow. Thank you. This is really amazing about self-reflection. Have you ever sit down and reflected on yourself, or you're just there, allowing just life to drive you away? So, purity on our last question.
Yes.
How can you advise a person who is just there? He really don't know what to do. He really don't know even his purpose in this world. He's just confused. How can you advise this person? Where can this person start his journey of identifying his potentials, his purpose, and his identity? How can you advise this person? Which steps can he or she start?
Wow. Interesting. I would say it is very impossible for you to execute your purpose without understanding who you really are. It is difficult for this phone to function as a phone to text messages, to call, to send money, to do all these things it does. If it doesn't really understand it, it's a phone. Maybe it could be a car. So it's expected to do transport, right? But the fact that it knows it's a phone, it has to do purposes related to the phone, right? So for us to be able to execute our purpose, we understand our identity. Get to understand who exactly are you. What has the Lord called you to do? And we began by saying it's not possible for you to understand who you really are outside God. It is the Creator who tells us what exactly the creation is and what it mandates. Get to understand. So you're there confused. The Bible tells us that our God is not an author of confusion, right? So once you get back to Him, I guess it's not like I'm guessing the reality. He will give you clarity. He'll give you direction. You get to understand that? Yeah. So first, if you think you're confused, it's not too late. You have time. Get back to your Creator. Understand who you really are. You know, we have been forgiven, but most of us go to God with the guilt. You're not sure whether you are forgiven. So, if you're yet to understand who you really are, get back to God. He defines you. He tells you what you really are. You know, this is what the scripture says. Declare those things. Yes, when you declare things, you really own them. I love what a friend of mine says, that what you declare is what you possess. Yeah, so understand who you really are by getting back to God. And then be disciplined. Now that you've understood who you are, start a journey. Yes. And before we get to that point of you being disciplined, understand your capabilities. I've seen that purpose is not invented, it is discovered. So once you've gotten back to God, you've understood your identity. Now you get to understand your capabilities, your abilities, what really you've been gifted in. And that revolves around your purpose. Purpose is not something big. You're there, you want to invent, oh, maybe I should become a politician. And you'll be called to be a teacher like me. You know? And something that really demotivates us is the fact that, like, as I was growing up, I get to understand that the Lord has really called me in this mountain of education. I'm a teacher. But I could see so many people who are teachers that I could feel discouraged. But I got to understand it's not about the number of people that are in that field. It's about what the Lord wants you to do using you. Because you're different. There's something very unique in you that could help that particular space. So it doesn't matter how many of you are in that particular field, that particular space. What matters is what the Lord has bestowed upon you, and that is going to be very essential in that particular field. So you get back to God, you understand your identity, then get to understand your abilities and your capabilities. You are gifted. Now that you've known you are gifted, what next do you do? Be consistent, be discreet. Yes. You'll get to understand, most of us, it's not like we are comparing ourselves, we just there. Basically, we are lazy. We don't want to do anything. We are not pushing ourselves. And I love what Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6 to 9 says. You go to the ants, look how diligent they are, very consistent. Most of us, we want results, but we don't want to give effort. Be disciplined, be consistent, put effort. Yes, we are always praying God open doors. What if He opens? What will sustain you there? It is your consistency, your diligence. Yes, He is ready to open doors, but are you ready to sustain the doors? So I'll say, get back to your Maker, understand your identity, get to understand your capabilities, and be consistent and be diligent. Thank you.
Wow, we have just had an amazing session with purity. And yeah, you who are just there, you don't even understand yourself. You have given us very essential tips of first you identify, go back to your maker, go back to your manufacturer who knows you better than anyone else, who has your full script of it. Then identify your strength, your weaknesses, and what you can be able to do. Then after knowing what you're able to do, start building a discipline and consistency. I love what purity you are sharing, and it's what I've been our in our platforms I've been sharing, and I guess we are in line with this. So an assignment to give you is that go sit down, reflect on yourself, see whether you have really discovered yourself, your identity. Sit down, reflect on yourself, where you have come from and where you want us to be. So Purity, I can just want you to say the last words as you say.
Okay. Before I wind up this one, I just want to tell somebody you're there, and maybe you're looking at where you're coming from, your background, your achievements. I have seen that these ones really don't define you. Where you're coming from, your upbringing does not define you. Yes, and as we conclude, I want to give an illustration, an example using my personal life. Yes, I have been brought up by a single mother, and I could see people who have been brought up by their fathers. I would see they have the names, they have a tribe, you know, such things. I was like, the fact that I don't have a dad, it really means I'm lacking. I'm lacking something very essential in life. But as I grew up, I get to understand my identity in Christ. That identity is not based on what you're lacking, but what you have. So look at what you have and build a life on it. Stop focusing on what you're lacking. As a matter of fact, you see that your background does not define you. Your name does not define you. Your career, your achievement, they don't define you. What really defines you is God. Yes. So thank you so much, Mercy, for having me. It has been such a nice moment. Yes, having this discussion, I have learned also on my side. Thank you so much for this wonderful work you do. It is my prayer that God uses you to impact lives out there. Thank you so much. Have a good time.
Thank you so much for also tuning in to our channel. This is our week episode. Yeah, so sit down, reflect on yourself, make sure you have known your identity, because this is the foundation of your success. This is the foundation of your greatness. Go back to your maker, ask him what he has made you, because I love what Purity has said, that identity or purpose is not something that is invented, it's something that is within you, so you need to discover it.
Yeah.
So God bless you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much. Thank you.